Hello everyone, this is Nitpicking Nerd, and I want to review the last episode of Season 2 of Star Trek Lower Decks called First Contact. And I think this was a good episode, and it subverted my expectations in a good way because I kind of expected it to be just a giant space battle, because they previously set up that whole plot line about the Packlets trying to get a planet destroying bomb because they want to destroy Earth for some reason. So I assumed there's going to be some kind of space battle with the Packlets trying to get to Earth to blow it up, and maybe they'll have other allies. Otherwise it would be kind of ridiculous if the Packlets were any kind of major threat to the Federation. It will make the Federation look stupid. So I assume they must have other allies maybe pulling their strings, and so maybe the Borg will show up or something like that. And I was sure there's going to be a giant space battle, and surprisingly there wasn't any. There still were a bunch of action scenes, but they were something completely different and felt much fresher, with that whole setup of trying to simply save another Starfleet ship which is falling down to a planet, and they only have 11 hours to save it before it crashes, which by the way by itself felt refreshingly scientific, because usually, in the movies and shows things like that happen in seconds or minutes, but now they have a much more realistic time frame. And so they have to get the Cerritos through some kind of magnetic asteroid field in order to save the other ship, because for some technobubble reasons they cannot go around it at warp, and they also have to dismantle the whole of the ship to be able to get through it. And so we have a bunch of pretty interesting kind of science fiction elements. So the episode did a good job of setting up some tension and some stakes, and it's funny how much you feel all of it despite the stakes not really being that high. It's not about saving the whole galaxy or saving the Federation, it's just about saving a fellow Starfleet ship, that's it. So it actually felt much more exciting compared to if it was just another space battle and we saw hundreds of them in so many shows and movies that it's not really that interesting anymore. And yet this episode had something much more fresh, which was still visually entertaining and still exciting, and it was against the clock, and so there was tension, and you had characters in danger, and you had that other ship in danger. And I guess they brought Sonia Gomez to be the captain of that ship so that we'll care a little bit more about it. And it was kind of interesting to find out what happened with her, because she's a character who was in early TNG and then completely disappeared from the show. And some speculations that maybe it was because she spilled coffee on the captain, and so maybe he played nice, but later on he did kick her off the ship. And in my head canon, I always imagined that maybe she moved her ass to Mars and became a prostitute there, and then got mutated by the radiation, or she got plastic surgery to be more appealing to the other mutants. And I even made some, parody edits with that idea and all of that. So I guess it's nice to find out that she didn't die and she stayed in Starfleet and she's a captain now, even though I think the time frame is a little bit too short for that, because she was just an ensign in TNG. I guess maybe thanks to the Dominion War, maybe a lot of captains died, and so a lot of people got promoted faster than they normally would have. So I guess I can buy it, but her cameo was mostly kind of pointless because they didn't really do a lot with her. So what was the point? It could have been any other character we recognize, it would have been the same. I do think it was important to put someone we know on that other ship, simply so that we'll care if that ship crashes or not. And so that adds some stakes to the overall story of wanting to save that other ship. And I think the coolest part of the episode was when they had to basically refit the Cerritos on the fly so that it would be able to save the other ship. They didn't really do a good job with the technobubble. It didn't really make sense. Like someone tried suggesting going around those rocks at warp, and then everyone shouted at him. It was kind of funny. I think it was possibly a poke against the Kurtzman style of always warping right into debris and all of that. So someone suggested simply warping through the debris, and then everyone shouted at him. So that was kind of a funny poke, but when you think about it, why couldn't they simply warp away in a completely different direction and then simply move around all of it and simply arrive from the other side of the planet? So it doesn't really make sense. I wish they would have added some more technobubble that will make all of this situation more plausible. Maybe they could have simply said that solar eruption that caused the disaster also disrupts the warp field for a while, and that's why they cannot go to warp in time to go around that debris. That's why they have to go through it, and they have to remove the hull. And all those parts of them removing the whole plating was really fun, in my opinion. And the way they did it was similar to how they detached the deflector dish in Star Trek First Contact. So it all looked really cool, and it was action-packed, and seeing the whole crew wear EV suits with magnetic boots, all of it felt like science fiction. And I also loved the part when they revealed that the ship actually have those dolphin crew members, or whales, whatever they are, That's an idea that Star Trek TNG actually planned to do, but I guess they never did it for budget reasons, or they didn't want it to look too ridiculous. There was one mention in an episode, I think it was in the episode The Perfect Mate, when Jordi was telling some Ferengis about the dolphins on the ship. He said, did you see the dolphins yet, or something? There were some technical manuals which showed that the Enterprise D actually had some dolphin crew members who helped navigate the ship, and they live on special decks inside the ship in water and all of that, which is kind of hard to accept retroactively because, how come we never saw any of that? How come there was no mention of that? What did they do in Star Trek Generations when the ship crashed down? What happened with the dolphins and so on? So I wouldn't find it acceptable to say that it was always there on the Enterprise D and we just never saw it. That would be a little bit ridiculous, but I have no problem with it being on new ships in the shows that take place later. So I thought this was a kind of a fun idea. The whole idea of aquatic life forms being on starships is a cool idea that I always want to see more of. They had a few episodes in Star Trek Enterprise in season 3 about the aquatic Xindi and that they have their own ships which are full of water. That's such a cool idea that I always wanted to see more of in science fiction. So anything with that idea is something I always welcome. So I liked it a lot, and I love the humor in it. When they rescued Boimler from the water and they're trying to resuscitate him, and then the dolphins say, spray him with water, keep him wet, and all of that was kind of funny. And I really hope we'll see more of them. I think this is a fascinating idea. To show sea creatures on a starship is always fun. For some reason, I just find that whole idea fascinating and funny. And all the character moments were great as well, all that drama between the characters and the characters evolving. And I especially loved how Mariner made friends with that Andorian ensign that she kept clashing with throughout the season. And it turns out that Andorian is not really that bad. She actually saves Mariner when she almost flies into space in one scene. After that they become best friends. And I really liked it because it felt like it's the spirit of Star Trek. They were characters who were kind of antagonistic, and now suddenly they're best friends after some kind of shared experience, people cooperating and working together. And even when they start out as antagonistic toward each other, after they share some kind of adventure or they're facing danger together, suddenly they have to cooperate and then they become best friends. That's a big part of what Star Trek was always about. It's about companionship and friendship and all of that. That's also why I like the idea of the Interstellar Federation so much. All the different aliens working together and serving together. That's what Star Trek is about. It's about solving our differences and our problems and becoming friends rather than enemies, and working together to achieve something great and to help each other, and to basically the whole idea of the Federation and all of that. So really well done, and it explains why they were setting up that whole conflict and why they hated each other. It's for this moment in which they're actually becoming friends after going through this adventure and all of this danger together and helping each other. And so this is what Star Trek is, this is what Starfleet is all about. And as for the cliffhanger of the captain getting arrested, I guess it will turn out it was some kind of ploy by Section 31, that maybe they did that whole thing to get rid of the Packlades. So I guess her name is going to be cleared pretty soon. And I do like the idea of the Packlades getting wiped out, because I was kind of getting tired of them as villains. I kind of like them as just the alien, which is comic relief, but as villains, I think they were fine for a few episodes, but it started to get old, so I hope they will have new villains which are more dangerous and not as silly. So I'm kind of happy that the Packlades got wiped out. I guess some of them are still out there, but probably not as many, and they will not be as dangerous. And there was another interesting detail about Rappaport remembering something about himself which he didn't know, that they planted something in his brain. I guess that's a seed for something that will be explained later on, so we'll wait and see. So overall, a good episode, a solid season final, and I liked most of the season. There were a few episodes in which I had some complaints, but overall this is a really fun show. So that's all I really had to say about it. Let me know what you think, and we can discuss all of this in the comments below, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.